we're going to wind up early. And for those of you who are, there's a few guests in the audience, just to say a few words about that, there are 3 reasons why companies join C. They join for the visibility, the access to customers and visibility that they get, very positive visibility. We've been around for almost 10 years now. Everybody pretty much knows that we stand for operational excellence and the kind of things that are important to our customers. So good, strong brand visibility for that purpose. Performance, the roadmap, step-by-step process, lots of support. It's not consultant-based. We can work through the C system. You can work step-by-step, get all the resources you need to implement the roadmap. And lastly, collaboration, the ability to work with other best practice suppliers so that you can share process, best practices, and improve your system in a very small and mid-sized company friendly manner. So we invite you to talk to us more and tell us what your interest is if you're a guest here today. Upcoming conferences. In July, we're going to be just outside of Chicago, and we're going to have a sponsor, and I'm going to ask Glynn to get up and speak to you about what's going to happen there in just a minute for this conference. And yes, we do know how to spell meeting. It's not M-A-E-E-T. But I should have made it into a test, right? Is there anything misspelled on this page? Okay. But we're going to have a similar format with a site visit the first day and a Supplier Advisory Council meeting and Supply Chain Summit the second day, and then followed by a conference like this one on the third day. And I believe that we've decided our focus on that conference is going to be workforce development, but we'll be surveying and making sure that that's a good hit, and then, of course, using this same format to look at the processes for workforce development, because we want to do operational excellence in November. Our November conference, November 6th to 8th, Indian Wells, right outside of Palm Springs, beautiful place, great place for golf. You should think about making that a spouses or significant others week. See, because there's a lot of great places to go in Palm Springs. It's a destination resort. We're going to be in the Hyatt, which is a outstanding resort. Has all kinds of facilities and spas and gyms and all this kind of stuff. We'll set up a golf day, and so think about that week as a week to bring spouses and significant others. And if you're in the doghouse, that week might get you out of the doghouse. And as you can see, it's 3 days, but we've set up the schedule so that you'll have plenty of time to go and enjoy the surrounding resort areas and visit the outlet mall, go to the Indian casino, and all kinds of things. So those are our 2 conferences scheduled for the rest of the year. And now I wanted to invite Glynn Fletcher from Agie Charmilles up to talk about what's going to happen with the site visit up there. I think we've got your slides queued up, so if you want to use the clicker, you can change them.
It's not until I hear other people pronounce Agie Charmilles that I realize that it is quite a mouthful. We get used to it. And just to explain a little bit, because it is kind of unusual, Agie Charmilles is the conglomeration of 2 separate companies, one which was called Agie and one which is called Charmilles, one which came from the Italian part of Switzerland, well, actually originated in the German-speaking part of Switzerland, that's the Agie part, and one that came from the French part of Switzerland, which is the Charmilles part, just as a little reference point. You're all probably itching to get to the door, so I'll try and be quite brief. But what I did want to do was just to set the scene a little bit for the upcoming conference in Lincolnshire in July. And by setting the scene, I think it's important to address the issue of really why Agie Charmilles thought it would be a good idea to be a sponsor of the C organization. And I think our motivation is the same as those who are C members. And as Michael presented a few slides earlier, it is about visibility, it's about performance, and it's about collaboration. But it's refreshing for me to see that we, although we come from a quite a different environment from most C members, we do have quite a lot of things in common. And of course, the thing that we have most in common is that we are participating in a very, very exciting industry. As Doug said earlier, I think the aerospace industry is still the most exciting industry in the world. And from a manufacturing point of view, and certainly from a North American manufacturing point of view, it is fundamentally important. On a historical note, I started to work in the United States in 2002, so I was transferred here then on a 3-year assignment. So if you do the math, you can see that changed quite fundamentally. But in 2002, I think we started to see a sea change in the manufacturing environment in the United States. Some might even consider that my arrival coincided with a sharp decline in the manufacturing environment in the United States. So for the last 10 years, we as an organization have been considering how we have to make some changes to our business. Because clearly, if we had followed the market, then we would have been in serious difficulties, because our traditional market was the mold and die market. EDM machines, electrode discharge machines, are usually associated with mold and die manufacture. And 10 years ago, 80% of our business was done with mold and die manufacturers. Ladies and gentlemen, there are a lot less mold and die manufacturers in the United States today than there were 10 years ago. So it's important that we make some changes. And those of you who, everybody heard of Willie Sutton? The story of Willie Sutton? Good, good. Willie Sutton was a bank robber. And when he was finally arrested, somebody asked him, well, Willie, why do you rob banks? And he said, well, that's where the money is. And it's really as simple as that. You know, when we consider our options in terms of manufacturing in North America, if we're going to be sustainable, if we're going to be successful in the future, then we better go where the money is. And quite frankly, I think the aerospace industry is one of those places where there still is some money in manufacturing, which you can see from the charts. These charts have been shown, I think, 4 or 5 times already through the course of this event, just in a slightly different format. But if you look forward through the next few years, there is significant growth in the aerospace industry, and we as an organization want to participate in that growth. All of us in this room want to participate in that growth. We have some other things in common. Some of the customers that we share, you will recognize some of these names. We have been successful in the course of the last 10 years or so in our efforts to engage and supply some very significant players within the aerospace industry. So we're very proud of those relationships. And I think the real and entire purpose of the site visit to our facility in Lincolnshire in July is to try and pass on some of the things that we do, and some of the practices that we perform, and some of the relationships that or explain some of the relationships that we have developed with organizations like the ones that you can see on the screen. And to share that with you, so that perhaps you might see something there that helps you to improve your businesses. But what we don't want it to be is simply, a sales pitch. That's not the intention. So we're going to try and bring as much value as possible, and hopefully reward you, those of you who will be attending, reward your time with something that is provocative, something that is interesting, and something that may just have a positive impact on your business. So we'll conduct a series of workshops. The first one of those will concentrate on NADCAP compliance and MT Connect. We've done a lot of work recently with the incorporation of track and trace elements into our machine tools so that our customers can track right the way back to a single impulse on an EDM machine and associate a time and a place, which of course is very, very important in the aerospace industry. And the other thing that is growing in importance is the so-called MT Connect. MT Connect is a machine tool network protocol which allows customers to communicate with a wide variation of machines in a common language and control, monitor, and assess the performance of those machines on an ongoing basis. So I think that's going to be worthwhile and rewarding, certainly for those of you who are in the machining business. We will also conduct a workshop on the subject of advanced machining technologies in aerospace. And the thing that I think we can say that we do differently at Agie Charmilles is we're not a Me Too supplier. We tend to be associated with the high end of the machining of the machine tool industry. Our core business, or one of our core businesses, is electrode discharge machining. We also have high-speed machining, 5-axis machining, the combination of 5-axis and high-speed, which is quite interesting. And recently we have introduced a new technology called laser ablation that we're very proud of and that we like to share with the world. But I think the thing that we'll be concentrating on is the way that we combine those technologies, so that how we can combine the process of high-speed machining with 5-axis, how we can combine the process of milling with EDM or EDM with laser, and there are lots of applications within the aerospace industry where we think that is appropriate. So those will be, I guess, what you might describe as the 2 sit-down workshops, but then we will conclude with a workshop 3, which will be a series of demonstrations specifically and focused on the aerospace industry. So 5-axis milling of high-temperature alloys will be a presentation that we will make. We're about to launch a new EDM hole drilling machine, which has been developed specifically for the drilling of cooling holes in turbine blades, etc., etc. So we'll introduce that to you, and that will be the first time that machine will have been presented to any customers anywhere in the world. So I think that's kind of nice to be able to do that. And then last but not least, again, it's a jet engine application rather than a fuselage application, but we're doing a lot of work today on the wire EDMing of fir tree forms within discs and within the engine. So we'll be able to present that also. So basically, in a nutshell, that's it. That's what we'll be doing. It will be great to see as many of you here as see as many of you there as we see here, and perhaps even a few more, because Chicago is a great town. I mean, I'm really proud to have lived in Chicago for the last 10 years. I love that city. I love the company that I work for, and I'll be delighted to present that to you in Chicago in July. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so we wanted to let you know that 2012 nominations are open now, so you can download applications off the website. One of the ways, the only way that the aerospace and defense supply chain, does cross-industry awards is through this awards program. You can nominate your own company. You can nominate another company. You can nominate other companies anonymously, or you can let them know you nominated them. There is a customer category where you can nominate customers. Okay, so just go to the awards section of the C website and help us start front-loading for the 2012 awards program, because whoever you nominate has to complete an application process, so you want to give them the maximum amount of time. So, and a lot of people don't write a lot of applications for this reason. They think about, who deserves it, and, who's really outstanding, and the list gets smaller and smaller until pretty soon you haven't recognized anybody. And, we take an opposite view. Put them all in there, let the judges sort it out, right? Your application or nomination is only an acknowledgement. It's good job. It's not like you officially awarded them anything, or, officially said, I used to hate you guys, but now you're okay. It's not something, a check that they can cash at the bank. It's simply an acknowledgement that says good job. So you nominate somebody and then let the judges sort it out, right? Because that's what the judges, the independent judging panel sorts through all those applications and nominations. And if you nominate 100 of your suppliers, probably only 10 of them are going to submit a nomination or an application, even though it's only 2 pages long. Probably only 10 of them are going to submit an actual application, because they won't think they deserve it, and they won't think they're good enough. So not only do you have barriers of writing a nomination, but they have barriers for writing the application. And by the way, most of them think that it's some kind of scam. But anybody in this audience can probably tell you there's no cost for any of it. Nobody's making any money off of it. It's genuinely aimed at recognition, and I think we've got, is this the 6th annual coming up? Is that 6th annual. So after you do it for 6 years, people ought to be able, it should be pretty well known that it's not a scam. It's genuinely the only cross aerospace and defense supply chain award system that we know of that isn't motivated by publications or somebody wanting to sell magazines or something going on. It's just genuinely about recognition. But it relies on everyone to drive it through the nomination process. So be sure to visit the C website. Make the longest list you can possibly make. Be generous. There you go. Yeah, Hilda, be generous. And, don't think that you have to be stingy about nominating. We'd like to give our special thanks to our conference sponsor and our keynote speakers, Parker and Northrop Grumman. Thank you. Our supplier presenters, our panel, thank you very much for taking the time and effort to do this. Our summit was a great success. Our panel was a great success. All of you really got the job done. You did some preparation. You brought good information to the table. There was a lot of back and forth discussion and questions. Outstanding job. Thanks for supporting all of those activities. I know I personally got a tremendous amount of value from all of that. We acknowledge that many of you had to travel and do extraordinary things to get here. I see Tim over here. Tim's had to wait 5 hours out of Dallas, Fort Worth to get a plane out, and then he comes rolling in here at 4 a.m. in the morning, just to do this. And I'm sure he's not the only one. Others of you have similar stories of what it took to get here, and we acknowledge that you did that, and we appreciate it. And finally, I thank the C staff, Hilda, Jeff, Aaron, Tracy, Joe. Thank you for all of your support for this conference. And that's it.